animal was brought to us in a very bad condition.
All right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland. Tonight's guest is Angry Catfish Briggs. And, you know, I would tell you exactly what this show is going to be about, but I put a couple of hours into researching this, and it's still pretty hard for me to wrap my brain around. Not hard for me to wrap my brain around, like, understanding, but to relay it back in words is beyond my capabilities at the moment. So a lot of what we're talking about here is ISWA. Now, the ISWA, I'd never even really heard this term until a friend of ours who's been on the show, Samuel Hoffman, some of his fans started bringing it up and then suggesting that to you. So what is the ISWA?
ISWA, it's satellites in space with magnetometers on them, basically watching our magnetosphere.
Mm-hmm. And so this is all public knowledge. This is coming down. I mean, you guys are obviously in your videos, a lot of the time you guys are actually watching the data coming from this.
Yeah, it's a NASA satellites. I mean, I know NASA never a straight answer, but if you watch their monitors, you can get a pretty good idea.
Now that really is the question. You know, what is the good idea? Is it that there's another body out there?
Quite a few.
Quite a few. So is this Nibiru? So in the discussion, you know, I was reading about it. There's the term Leviathans being thrown around. I don't know if that's a biblical connection there or what, but are these separate bodies?
They're huge planets, very huge. You can actually see them at night really well. A lot of people are pointing to the sun. If you go out at night and start looking up at your north, you're going to see the entire star field's gone. And look a little closer, you'll see the massive circumference in between us and those stars. They've been pushing us along for going on 2 years now, get closer and closer. A magnet, when it comes close to another magnet, they close their field line and start pushing against each other. That's what we're seeing every day in ISWA. There's only one reason for a magnet to close its field line. There's another magnet in its proximity. And we're seeing it every day, and it's getting more and more pronounced. I've been calling out quakes since 2012 on Facebook, teaching people how to do it because there's a pattern. There's a physical object causing these bigger quakes. On both my channels, I got Catfish's Corner and Angry Catfish. I've got 2 channels. There's thousands of quakes that I'll hit on the exact minute, exact magnitude, exact placing on the planet using ISWA. And there's people like Ben Davidson that'll tell you it's an inaccurate model, and I've proven beyond the shadow of a doubt this thing is very accurate. It's a magnetometer. It's like looking at a ferrocell in space. It gives you a very accurate reading of what's going on.
So the reason why this is triggering geological events here is because the magnetic pull is like pulling maybe on the iron core or something like that.
We're actually on our side. I don't know if you've noticed or not, but you've got a moon that's rising like a little frown. It rolls 180 degrees, and on the other side of the planet, it's set like a little grin. That is a wax and a wane every night from your porch. Really? You should never see that.
Yeah, no, I have to tell you, I am be sure to explain all of this to me like I'm 5, because you know, I really came into this, put a couple hours into it, and I'm really kind of confused on it. Okay, so you're saying that when we see the moon, it's either rotating or we are.
Well, we are.
We are.
You can't roll the shadow on a ball by rolling the ball.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, the shadow's moving too. That's us.
Gotcha. And that's the pull of these planets. Now, are you familiar with Samuel Hoffman? Because that's kind of...
I know Sammy. Sam and I used to deal with each other on Facebook. Look, last time he talked to me, he was yelling at me, telling me
Okay.
I was scaring people unnecessarily because the system was on its way out. And obviously it wasn't. But obviously it wasn't. It's still on its way in.
Okay, so these are two branches of the same concept. That's what I was
Yeah.
to
And there's a little more than what Sam thinks is coming. There's actually two suns with several planets. One of them is a blue spectrum, ultraviolet, black light sun. The other one is a very big red sun. Their names are Ra and Horus, the red and blue Kachinas. I've already been to the Hopi, to 6 tribes down to the Navajo, leaving Oregon coast because of visions of drowning. And verified that the Hopi actually are Hebrew Muslim descendants of Cain. And they've been guarding this for centuries.
So is this is always something that, you know, conspiratory or hidden knowledge always comes to mind for me. Is this something that the government knows? Is this something that the world knows that
Partially.
old, or are they figuring it out at this point too?
Their own cuneiform says that they had no idea what we were drawing on the walls. They said they had no idea what we were carving on the walls. We had no spoken language, but we drew ornate pictures. And they assumed the identities of those in our pantheon to hide us from ourselves. In other words, Marduk became Ra. Ninzagita, his brother, became Thoth. And they tried to hide us from ourselves. Ra is a sun. Thoth is a huge planet. I don't know if we called them Ra and Thoth back then. We didn't speak. But they gave us these languages, the Anunnaki, Enki and Enlil. I'm sure you've heard of them.
Yeah.
Well, they're all over the world. Everybody talks about them, how they drug the moon here, which correlates with the cuneiform, where we got trapped in a void and stuck here. We changed suns. We used to be with the blue sun. That's why you have its magnet signature right smack dab in the middle of your head. It's an ultraviolet sensitive organ hooked up to your eyes in the shape of magnetic signature of Ra. Well, that's your biology screaming. We came from that sun in the first place. We were originally designed on that sun. And we've got it pushing us back now.
I took the lead.
Welcome to the radio, Wasteland. Hello, my darling. Welcome